The Descent into Madness. Dr. Daniel Harrington was a respected psychiatrist, known for his groundbreaking work in treating schizophrenia. He had dedicated his life to understanding the human mind, unraveling its mysteries one patient at a time. But nothing could prepare him for the case of Eliza Warren. Eliza was brought to the hospital after being found wandering the streets, covered in blood and mumbling incoherently. She had no identification, no known family, and no past that anyone could uncover. She was a complete enigma. Intrigued by the challenge, Dr. Harrington took her case personally, hoping to unlock the secrets of her fractured mind. From the moment he met Eliza, he knew something was different. Her eyes, dark and piercing, seemed to see right through him. She spoke in riddles and fragments, her words painting a picture of a world that defied reality. She spoke of shadows that whispered, of doors that led to nowhere, and of a place called the Endless Corridor. Dr. Harrington dismissed her stories as delusions, symptoms of a severe psychotic break. He prescribed medication and began a regimen of therapy, trying to reach the rational mind he believed was buried beneath her madness. But the more time he spent with her, the more he began to doubt his own sanity. Eliza's stories were not just random hallucinations. They were detailed, consistent, undisturbingly coherent. She described the endless corridor as a vast, labyrinthine space filled with countless doors, each leading to a different reality. Some doors led to places of unspeakable horror, others to worlds of unimaginable beauty. But the corridor itself was a prison, and she was its eternal prisoner. As the days turned into weeks, Dr. Harrington found himself drawn deeper into Eliza's world. He began to have vivid dreams of the endless corridor, dreams that felt more real than his waking life. In these dreams, he wandered the endless hallways, opening doors and glimpsing strange, otherworldly landscapes. He woke each morning drenched in sweat, his heart pounding with fear and excitement. His colleagues noticed the change in him. He became withdrawn, obsessed, spending long hours in his office poring over Eliza's case notes. He stopped attending staff meetings and avoided social interactions, consumed by a growing sense of unease. He felt as if the walls of the hospital were closing in on him, as if the endless corridor was reaching out to claim him. One night, after a particularly intense session with Eliza, Dr. Harrington made a decision. He had to know the truth. He returned to his office and locked the door, determined to stay until he had unraveled the mystery of the endless corridor. He sat at his desk, his eyes fixed on Eliza's journal, a sense of impending doom settling over him. As he read, the words seemed to blur and shift, taking on a life of their own. The room grew colder, and he felt a presence behind him, a whisper of breath on his neck. He turned, but there was no one there. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to move, swirling and coalescing into dark, indistinct shapes. And then he saw it, a door. It was a simple wooden door, standing incongruously in the middle of his office. His heart pounded in his chest as he approached it, his mind screaming at him to stop, but he couldn't. He had to know. He reached out and grasped the handle, the cold metal sending a shock through his body. With a deep breath, he turned the handle and stepped through the door. He found himself in the endless corridor. The air was thick with a sense of timelessness, and the walls stretched out infinitely in both directions. Doors of every shape and size lined the corridor, each one a portal to another world. He wandered the hallways, opening doors and peering into the unknown, his mind teetering on the edge of madness. Days turned into weeks, or perhaps it was only hours. Time had no meaning in the endless corridor. He saw wonders and horrors beyond imagination, his mind stretched to its limits. And all the while, he searched for Eliza, the one person who could explain the nightmare he found himself in. Finally, he found her, She stood at the end of a long hallway, her eyes sad and knowing. "You shouldn't have come," she said softly. "Now you'll never leave." Dr. Harrington fell to his knees, the weight of his choices crushing him. He had crossed a threshold that could never be uncrossed. The endless corridor was his home now, and he was its newest prisoner. Back at the hospital, his colleagues found his office empty. Dr. Harrington had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only Eliza's journal and a single, inexplicable wooden door that led to nowhere. The door was sealed, and Eliza's case was closed, her fate forever intertwined with the man who had tried to save her and lost himself in the process.